Hi guys, bienvenidos once again to Todo en Vida podcast. My name's Ashley. If you guys didn't know, I'm the host of Todo en Vida podcast. I'm also the owner to Self Care by Ash LLC, and I'm a Brazilian wax specialist located here in Southern California. But here on my platform, I talk about honestly everything when it comes to life. And today I decided to have Annabella. She is the owner of XO Beauty Wax, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any underscore? You want to give your hashtag?
Straight up XO Beauty Wax.
There you go. She's located in San Bernardino, and she's became a peer of mine. So I wanted to have her on here because as small business owners, not even small, but just, business owners in general, it becomes a huge part of our personality and it ties into our faith. I've always said that being self-employed and being an entrepreneur is a huge test of faith, but also too, it allows you to kind of get an insight on why our grind and our hustle, where it comes from and how it just pertains to us. So go ahead, introduce yourself, let us know a little bit about your upbringing and let them know.
Perfect. Hi guys. So I'm Annabella, owner of XO Beauty Wax. And yeah, I was born and raised in Argentina for 7 years. Came here to the States with pretty much my whole family, my brother, my mom, my dad. And yeah, we're just out here rocking it as much as we can. So thanks for having me.
Yes, of course, friend, of course. So just to give you guys a background, okay? So I teach classes, right? And this isn't even a moment to try to be like, oh yeah, Annabella at one point took my class. Yeah, no. She started off as a client. She ended up taking my class. But this is the thing. I've taught many classes before. And there's some people that have done nothing with it. And the moment that she started, she hit the ground running, which is something to admire. Granted, to us, natural, like hustle comes natural. You know what I'm saying? But it is something to admire because I'm sure that the reason why you hustle has something to do with your upbringing. So how would you feel that your hustle, your work ethic, starting your business, how do you feel like that, kind of correlates with your upbringing?
So definitely, growing up in, a place like Argentina where there's really not much for a lot of people, you kind of have to make something out of it, right? And when my parents came here, they came with nothing, absolutely nothing. So at the end of the day, for me, it was like, well, what do I look like not making it in a place where it's, the land of opportunity?
Yeah.
I feel like that was one of my biggest drives, and it's always been that. It's, my mom, my dad, they've always done everything they could to be able to provide for us.
Yeah.
Granted, we didn't have, brand new clothes, brand new anything, but we had everything we wanted and everything we needed.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, in my head, my biggest inspiration is just to be able to do the same for them that they did for me. Especially coming to, a country where you don't know anything, you don't speak the language, you don't really know anybody here. I feel like you kind of have to make a name for yourself. You have to be able to get yourself.
You have to be motivated, driven, because you don't want the opportunities that you
to pass you up.
Yeah, to pass you up.
Yeah.
The opportunities that you now have. I think also too, when you struggle a little bit, like I told you off camera, I'm not saying you have to struggle to make it, but would you say that those hardships, hardships, influences you to want to do better?
Yes, for sure. I feel like it's one of the biggest things. It's like when you know that you don't have it, and you know that anything can easily be taken away from you, it creates a fear in you. At least for me, it definitely creates this well, I have it today, but I might not have it tomorrow. And at the same time, I know what it felt like to not have anything and to live the paycheck to paycheck and to still work, you're more than 40 hours a week and still live paycheck to paycheck, especially now, right? I feel like it's even more intensified now. But when you start to think like that too, it's like, well, no, if there's something for me now and this is something that I'm good at, I need to take advantage of that opportunity because it's here and it's mine and I know that I'm good at it, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things for me. It's that fire that's I don't want to be back in that same position.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like people's fire runs out when they idolize the things that they want. But when it comes to the stepping stones that are needed to happen to get there, I feel like that's where a lot of people throw in the towel.
Yep.
So given the fact that I feel like, honestly, the greater the struggle, I feel like the greater either you can go two ways.
Yes.
You can either sit there and make excuses for yourself and you could just be avoidant towards knowing that you have to elevate in life because that's what it comes with, I think that's what we all were meant to do at one point is elevate and continue to grow as individuals. But that's where you either go two ways. Either you're going to go the route of someone who's avoidant to wanting that growth, because growth, it it hurts.
Yes.
It sucks.
It does.
You know?
It does.
And
you have to get out of your comfort zone.
You have to.
Yeah.
And that's where it sets aside, and it kind of, that greater struggle divides you. It either takes you left or it takes you right to where you want to be, you know, something great in this life. You want to take advantage of that, you know? And what would you say is the difference between the people that just kind of like get burnt out of it because they're like, okay, I want this, but then once it's there, they kind of throw in the towel?
Yeah.
Would you say that knowing that struggle too makes you appreciate what you have even more now?
For sure. I feel like one of the biggest things that you just said right now is you choose your own path, right? I've had a lot of friends, family that have, you know, been in like abusive relationships with their parents, right? And one kid turns out one way and the other one completely different, because you don't want to be, you know, you don't want to be what you've seen your whole life, or you turn into that path of that's all I've ever seen, so that's what I'm going to do. And I feel like that's where it kind of like it gets gray, right? Because you're like, well, yeah, I want to be better, but like, how do I do that? And I feel like that's one of the biggest things. It's like, you are your own person. You are your own, you're pretty much your biggest critic. So you have to push yourself. No one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to push you the way that you can push yourself.
I feel like a lot of people start to feel that discomfort and kind of just throw in the towel. And then they look at the next person and they're like, oh, well, that was easy for them because of whatever excuse they want to give. And I think that that's where people don't see. It's like, hey, with this struggle and now the success that I obtained, it also came with a lot of trials and tribulations. And I feel like that's where a lot of people just see the next person doing well because they fought through that and like, it's going good for them.
And I feel like you've said it, you know, perfectly yourself, is a lot of people, they don't show the bad, because like in a business, you don't want to show every single bad thing that happens, right? Because you don't want to seem like you're complaining. You've said it multiple times, you know, so at the same time, there's that fine line of like, obviously, you know, you want to show your business and you want to show that you're thriving, right? But there's a lot of struggles that people don't see. And it's a lot of the things too, that you're not just going to go online every single day and be like, well, this didn't go my way. And this was bad today. And this, because then it does seem like you're complaining.
And the only reason why you want to be transparent with it is to be able to show people like, hey, like if you're out there struggling with something when it comes to your business or it just in general balancing life, because you're also outside of being a business owner, you also have a day job. You also have a husband. You also have your own place to tend to. So it's like, it's really a balance of everything. And it's like, okay, these things are wonderful to have. It's wonderful to be married. It's wonderful to have your own place. It's wonderful to have your own business. But hey, I just want it to be shown that there are responsibilities that come with this.
For sure.
So that if there's anybody out there that's feeling like they're being their worst critic, they can sit back and be like, hey, you know what? Like, we're all really just trying to figure it out.
And I feel like too, like what really helps is there's people that don't have a support system. You know, there's people that are literally just out here doing it, and props, you know what I mean? Because it does take a lot, and it does take a village sometimes, because you do burn yourself out. And like you said, you know, I have a full-time job, and as soon as I get out of there, I go and start right off, you know, going to the studio. And at the same time, you know, being a wife. So it is very hard. And I will say, you know, my husband is my biggest motivator, my biggest like supporter. He's the main reason why I took your class in the first place. Like he's the one that paid for it, you know? So he pushed me to do that.
How do you keep that balance, and how do you keep it healthy?
It's definitely hard. And I will say that we do, you know, we do struggle sometimes with like being able to say like, I would love to stay home on Thursdays and watch football all day, because that's what we love to do. You know, but at the same time, you know, I work Thursdays, you know, and I can't always be like, oh, well, we play this Thursday. We're just going to call off. No. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like one of the biggest things with me and him is like, we have really good communication. And when I first started my business, we literally sat down together and I was like, okay, what do you feel about like this schedule? You know? And then he's like, well, look, you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day too. You know? And it's one of those biggest things too, where we communicate, and he knows that there's days where I run late, or I tell him, oh yeah, I'll be done waxing at 9. But then I'm still cleaning. I'm still setting up. Like I get home at like 11:30, you know, and then he's like, well, damn, you said 9. I'm like, I'm out here hustling, baby. You know what I mean? But
now I'll get asked. I'll be like, they'll be like, oh, so what time are you going to get out? And if my last client's at 7:20, I would used to before, I'd be like, oh, I'll be done by 8. Now I don't even say that. Now I'm like, hey, my last client is at 7:20. So you calculate whatever time you think I'm on after that. But the reason why I, you know, obviously we have waxing in common, and, you know, I hope that I acknowledged enough in the beginning that like, yes, I've taught to many people, but you had that fire and that passion immediately when you started. And I think that when I came to learn your story more about, you know, you being born and raised in Argentina and everything like that, I started to get to know you not just like as, I don't like to use these like, you know, not just as a client, not just as a student per se. Like, no. Like, I'm like, hey, like I'm looking at everybody like person to person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to talk about the business aspect is because one, it's influenced by our upbringing. That fire, that hustler passion that we have behind it, and just hustling overall to obtain something in life comes from your upbringing. It gotta come from struggle. And then on I mean, you appreciate it more when it does come from struggle. And I think that knowing that struggle is what keeps you so fearful, which I think fear is a good thing to have when it comes to success, because when you know what it's like to go without, even when you have it like that, if you're humble enough, you're going to constantly think like, oh, but it could be gone tomorrow. But it could be gone tomorrow. And I think that that's truly what brings success. But something that I've learned from you is like balance, because a lot
it's
of us,
hard.
It's
Don't
hard.
get me wrong. It's hard. And, you know, in the beginning, when I first started waxing, it's like, and I feel like with everybody, you just want to get people in your door. You know, I feel like you're constantly like, well, if I don't say yes to getting her in at, you know, 11:30 at night, that's not going to be my client, you know? And I had to ease myself into not feeling that way, because at the same time, like you said, you know, I do have a full-time job and it does consume a lot, you know? So it's like, it's a very mentally draining job as well. So I had to say no, you know, and I had to start like weaning myself off to saying like, okay, I have these 3 days, you know, set that I'm off. Like those are my days to be in my home, you know, with my husband, and to try to like be with, you know, my mom, that like, I see her at the studio, but at the same time, like I don't spend time with her. I don't spend time with my family like that, you know? So it's like, it's one of those things like where it's hard to balance everything, because there's days that I don't want to do anything.
Did you make that schedule with your husband like straight out the gate? Like,
no,
hey,
it genuinely was like, well, look, I know for sure that during the weekday, I have to kind of be there. And at first I was, you know, kind of doing like Monday through Friday, and then I was doing Saturday all day.
I was gonna ask you, did it take a burnout for you to
I wouldn't really say like
with the
burnout. I feel like yes, like it definitely was more of so like my body shut down like physically. I went to the hospital. I had to get like a CT scan and everything, and they literally told me it was due to stress. But at the time it was due to my day job and trying to manage my you know, waxing. And it was just a lot of mental toll that I was going, you know, through my day job. And I had to stop waxing for 6 months, and I was only doing it on Saturdays. And it took me to go to the hospital for me to understand that.
You know, it's crazy, friend. That's literally what I've been going through. That's literally the reason why I'm asking is like, how do you cope with burnout? Because one thing that, you know how we say like, we're our worst critic, and sometimes comparison is a thief of joy, right?
Yes.
I had came to you about this off camera, where I'd be like, Annabella, what am I doing wrong? Like you know, when it was slow season last year, which for those of you who don't know, or you guys are service providers, I feel like for waxers specifically, it gets slow around, I want to say like November to January, because it's colder. So, you know, everybody's first thought is like, oh, I don't really need to be waxing, whatever, right? And I feel like it took that slow season for me to be able to learn like, okay, I gotta be ahead of the game. And so what I did was I opened up my availability. It was like Monday through Saturday, because I was like, I don't want to miss an appointment. Mention you, I live in Redlands, right? Again, where instead of me putting up that like balance and those boundaries or anything, I was just like, hey, I'm gonna get it while I can, because of how I was raised, you know, like hoy sí, mañana no, you know? So I did that. And then I was like, dude, what am I doing? I'm driving out here for like 2 or 3 clients. And granted, something that people don't expect is like, yeah, not every day is a busy and booked day, you know? So I did that last year. And then I was like, you know what? Nah, like I cannot be doing this. And I think it took that on top of now when I am busy, I'm constantly working, for me to be like, hey, my feet really hurt. My back really hurts. And one thing I would compare is like, not compare, but you like, how does she manage it so well, you know? And it's like, here I am now going through the same thing that you probably went through a year ago, and that's what it took you to learn. That's literally what took me to stop right now. And like now I'm only working 4 days, and before I'd be like, hey, but if
I'm so proud of you for that, because I know how your mind just works. So like, I'm so happy that you're able to just say, you know what, like this is enough, you know, and not to say like my business is enough, but this is enough. Like I'm still good. And I feel like one of the biggest things that you just said, you know, like we try to compare and everything. But like at the same time, like I'm booked and busy. Yes. Why? Because I'm part-time. Right?
Mhm.
So to somebody be like, damn, she has, she's
And
waxing 17 people today. Yeah, but I'm only doing it part-time as well.
And
So like if I had a full day, I probably wouldn't be fully booked.
What
up.
I don't like is when people measures people's value through their success, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So this is where I want people to like really like humble yourself, right? Because look, people get in a position where, let's say I am, right? And they have something that socially makes them look more valuable.
Yeah.
She got her own shop. She got a podcast. She got this, right? And people, once I feel like they obtain that success, even though we're constantly evolving, this to me is not success. Like I'm renting my house right now, dog. Like this is not success to me. I want to be able to say, hey, I bought a building, I bought a house, I own my car, no, you know what I'm saying? So to me, I'm still constantly evolving. And people get in a position like that where they're like, oh yeah, nah, like I'm one of the top dogs. I can't learn from anybody else.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, I'm constantly learning from you, from other people, watching. I'm just the voice that's saying, hey, I'm learning with everybody else.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like that's what resonates with a lot of people, that it's like, yeah, like you can continuously learn. And I was really good at hustling, right? You can be good at hustling, but I will say when you start to feel that burnout, there is a decline in the quality of your hustle, because you're like, I'm spread way too thin. When you truly recharge your own battery, that's when it helps. And I think that that's where my comparison was, where I would be like, dude, she handles it so well. And it's like, no, we all took a...
And at the same time too, I feel like it's one of the things that I feel like everybody's definition of success is completely different. Right. I personally know, waxers that I talk to like on a day-to-day basis, that they don't want to have a suite. Like they don't want to have a salon. They just want to rent out a spot, and they just want to make the connection that they make with their clients. And that's okay. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, Saturdays and Sundays, she can be with her family and she's fine. And that's success to her. Yeah. And that's perfect. You know what I mean? And it's like, then you have your other person that, wants to have a huge spot and rent it out to 30 people and make all this money and do that, which that's totally fine too. I feel like that's one of the things. It's like, I feel like everybody wants everyone else's success to be the same as theirs and their vision to be the same. And it's not that. You know, there's people that are in, like, I'll be the first to say it. Like, there's a lot of people that are in this for the money because it's really good money. But at the end of the day, who's in it for the right reasons. Yes. You know, because this is such an invasive service that you're bringing these people in, and you have to make them feel comfortable because you're getting butt ass naked in front of a stranger for the first time. Yeah. Like you have to have it naturally. And I feel like that's not something that you can just learn to
that's where someone looks at you from the outside though. And cause like you said, it's rooted from a place of just wanting that money to where they see from the outside and they're sitting there pocket watching. They're like, oh, she got 13 Brazilians. And the average person will think, they'll look at their schedule and be like, oh, they got 13 Brazilians. She's going to make X, Y, and Z. People could do math all of a sudden. For sure. But someone who's truly like an entrepreneur or a business owner, it's going to be like, for example, like, oh, that's 13 Brazilians. That's going to be a solid like 4 pounds of wax. Or this is going to be this much. And that's going to be this much. Like, like people, I feel like they just see what meets the eye and they se la creen. Like,
I feel like you touched on it earlier. Like, it's my day job. I know that if I go to my job, I'm going to get paid. I don't know that in waxing. It's all relying on my clients, right? Yeah. That's just what it is. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this looks cool. And I've had so many people reach out to me like, oh, you teach classes and all this. And yes, but one of my biggest things is you can't teach hustle. You just can't teach that. It's either you have it or you don't, or you're going to work really hard to do it. Right. But it's not something that's just going to come naturally to you. So if you're already asking me, like, if a Brazilian, oh, but do girls smell? I'm sorry, you're not in the right profession. No. Like, you are strictly just in it for the money. Yeah. Like, you cannot see anything ahead of that. No.
Because,
we're, like I said, we're our own, biggest critics. And at the end of the day, it's like, we're all women.
Something that I want you to give me your feedback on, I think something that's really hard in the industry is, so when you have that drive and you have that motivation to want to learn and, just learn as much as possible and achieve something good, I feel like with that, sometimes you see that people kind of try to tend to rub elbows with you a little bit to just kind of get that knowledge. Yeah. And it's hard because in our industry, it's like, okay, look, if we learned all this, by doing the footwork, yes, we want to support and
Yeah.
we want to be able to put people on. But there's a limit to that, though.
Yeah.
And the hard part is in our industry, I feel like people will be like, well, she's just intimidated by the next person. No. I really genuinely feel like I'd be doing you a disservice just giving you all the resources because you don't learn like that. But how do you feel like there's kind of like a balance between like, no, I'm not intimidated. This is things you only learn through footwork.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of the biggest things too, because it's like, I'm a very like, I'll send you the link, girl. I'll send you where to go. I'll send you everything. But, you know, it does get to a point where it's like, okay, well, I'll also give you the tools that you need to find the info too. Like, hey, if you actually go and follow, you know, so-and-so, she does free classes. You know, she has the link to do all of this too. You know what I mean? At the same time, it's, you know, I do juggle both jobs. So it's like, I can't fully be like attentive to one person and be like, oh, well, yeah, girl, here's this, and this, while still, you know, taking care of everything I need to take care of, right? Yeah. But I feel like, yeah, it does kind of get gray sometimes. And, you know, as much as like you kind of try to like be there, because like you said, you know, like I've always felt comfortable with you to be like, hey, Hashtag, where'd you get that at? You know what I mean? And vice versa. I feel like it's just, it kind of comes naturally, especially when you build like these like relationships with people like on social media. Like, you know, I have girlies that I talk to like in New Mexico. That are just cool, and like I've never met them in my life, you know what I mean? But like they're just, you know, they're cool, and like you kind of build yourself up like that, you know. And I'll be the first to say, like, I love putting people on, you know. I love putting people on, but at the same time, you know, I feel like where it kind of gets gray is like when you start to notice that like people don't show love too. Because it'd be like, damn, like I'm like, this girl's helping me out all the time, and then like not one like on my post, like just kind of feels weird sometimes. You know,
you can feel the difference in the energy exchange where your energy is more welcoming, more resourceful. Like, hey, this is where you know, you can get that, and when it's opposite, it's not really reciprocated. You
know. So or sometimes I'll be like, oh, where'd you get that? I'll be like, oh, I got it here. And like,
do you feel like that can make building those connections in the industry a little bit challenging?
For sure. I do feel like that. I feel like in general, like I feel like there's a lot of, you know, women that are like truly, you know, girls and like we really just want to help, you know, and that's dope. And I feel like that's like what I've always strived to be. Like, I didn't know everything, you know, but at the same time, like I do want to say that I taught myself 90% of what I know through TikToks, through YouTube, through everything, because I'm nosy. Bro, like I want to learn. Like I genuinely I found, you know, random like content, be like, oh cool, like I can do this differently, I can do that differently, like, and it's like you learn how to do things on your own, and I feel like that just makes it much better because you're like, damn, I did that from the ground up.
And that's the footwork that I'm talking about. That's the footwork that makes you appreciate your success so much more, because you're like, hey, you know what, like me costó. Like it costed me to try to start this because of my upbringing or because of whatever influences growing up that just made it a little bit tougher for me, you know, which is fine because like I said, you know, even to you off camera, there's no punishment from God that's not a blessing, you know, but that's something too that I would say sometimes you want to hold close and you want to cherish it a little bit, because you're like, hey, like if I'm doing all this footwork, as welcoming as I want to be, and given the fact that we are waxers, I feel like we come off very, very welcoming, and we are naturally good thing. We're naturally like that. But it's okay to be able to have a balance. And I feel like that's why sometimes it does make it a little bit intimidating to try to build genuine connections. And the genuine connections that usually do happen in the industry usually happen just naturally.
For sure.
It just happens like for naturally. You know, así nomás pasa.
Definitely. I feel like it's like one of like the biggest things that it's like, and I feel like you can feel it. Like it's a huge difference. Like it's a huge difference from like when you truly see somebody that wants to see you grow for real. And that will repost you, that will say, oh, you know, like I just saw one of my girlies from Fontana, Marmita. She had just posted, she was like, you know, it's good to have a backup waxer or a backup like service provider, because you might be booked up, you know, and whatever, like it's cool, you know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like that's one of the biggest things. It's like, I've never been one to shy off and saying like, hey guys, I'm gonna be closed down for 6 months, here's my girls that I know will take care of you. Because at the end of the day, like my client can go here, there, or there, and if they decide to come back, that's completely okay. And if they don't, that's completely okay. You know, it's like at the end of the day, it's like, again, I'm not gonna gatekeep anybody and be like, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna be waxing, but like go shave. No,
that's something that I was telling Annabella even off camera, that's something that I learned from you. You know, and the reason why I always love to be able to say like, hey, I'm still learning, is because I never want people to praise a certain position too much to be like, oh yeah, once you get to whatever level of success that looks like for them, you know, once they get to this point, I'll know everything. It's like, no, that's something that I even learned from you, because something that I was telling her off camera is that like when I first got into the industry, because of like TikTok and because of everything came at me so quick. And while it is such a blessing to have, I started realizing that early on that like, one, you can't teach hustle.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can get those resources that we so openly give and make them useful. And also too, a lot of people see from the outside the success and that's all they see. Yeah. And it's like, but then you go and say something about it and it's perceived as complaining. No, I'm not complaining. I would just like you to know that I had to do the footwork. It was hard, but with anything in life, whether you own a business, whether you're maintaining family, being a wife, having a household, you have to, one, allow it to just work itself out. Yeah. Because entrepreneurship or just life in general is a huge test of faith. But something that we talked about was like, you see it more when you have a business. You see faith unravel. And no matter what you're handling in life, whether it's business, being married, like I said, a household, it's something that you have to have balance. Yeah. Prioritize yourself a little bit. Not even a little bit. It's really important to prioritize yourself. For sure. And trust that
and have faith.
Legit. And have faith. Like,
yeah. I feel like it's one of the biggest things you say on this podcast all the time. Like I told you, I watch every single one of them. And like, as we never want to like push religion on anybody, at the same time, I feel like this really made me open my eyes. Like having a business, I'm like, wow, I'm blessed. Like I am truly blessed. My hands are blessed. Like me in general. And there, I can't tell you how many times I have just sat in my studio. Mind you, I'm, doing it out of my mom's house. But what I've created in there is so magical to me. Like, to me, it looks like a suite, like a salon, like just because of what I've created, you know? And I feel like there's been so many times where I'll just like, I'll finish my day and I'll literally just start crying out of nowhere.
Or you just look around you.
And I'm just like, wow, like I did that. Like I did that with no handouts, with no anything, with no prior knowledge to how to run a business. But I just knew that customer service was always at the top for me. You can be the best coochie waxer ever, but if your customer service is trash, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Yeah. And I feel like it goes hand in hand.
And so you even being able to provide that service of customer service has to do with realistically you pouring into yourself. Because the thing is if you're doing something just for the money, or you're doing something and not even giving yourself that boundary and that balance of like, hey, I need to tend to other aspects of my life, you end up getting burnt out.
For sure.
And something that I love that you said, it's I'm always very transparent on this podcast, and I'm always the first to like call myself out. But how you said right now, like I look back at my studio and I just look around and I cry, or I soak it all in, you know, essentially is what you said. And I kid you not, I'll be the first to say, like, even when I was rocking, like, at my dad's house, my first studio didn't even have a door. I had to use curtains, right? Yeah. And I remember, like, telling myself, like, I was so hard on myself. And the reason why I'm saying this is, like, I know that there's more people out there that whatever their situation is, they're so hard on themselves, because whatever situation that they're at in life, whether it's, again, juggling a business or trying to keep the home together or whatever it is, they're like, for example, if it's someone trying to, keep a home together, well, I only got to clean 2 out of the 3 bathrooms today. So I didn't really do much. It's like, hey, soak in the success you did do,
grace.
Give yourself some grace. Yeah. And when I had my studio at home, I'll be honest with you, like, I did not do that. Yeah. There were so many times that I felt like now where I'm in a place where you would think like, I really got all the things that I wanted, right? You would think that, oh, I'm just so proud. Yes, I am proud. But I look back at that moment when I first started at that studio that I didn't even have a door. And I wish that I would have appreciated it more. Yeah. I wish I would have soaked in the stepping stones to my journey, because I rushed so much on getting here that now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, this is great. But like my body's tired. Yep. But like, I don't know days off. Yeah. But like everyone just thinks that I'm just so like great and perfect. And it's like, yeah, I do think I have something special, and I do agree with people on that, but I'm human like everybody else.
I feel like it's also one of like the biggest things that's something that's not really talked about is we, as a service provider, whether you do nails, whether you do lashes, waxing, whatever it is, right? We can't always like show you guys too like how it feels to have a bad day, because a lot of like these girls, like, this is their self-care day.
Mm-hmm.
And they wait so long to
Yeah.
come and just, it sounds crazy that y'all like
Yeah.
wait to come and get waxed. You know what I mean? But they do. You know, a lot of my girlies, like, you know, they have kids, you know, they have like homes to attend to, and like this is what they look forward to.
Yeah.
And what do I look like, you know, coming to my appointment and being like all down and being everything. And it's hard. It's really hard to really get yourself to a point where like you can't really show your emotion too much, and you always have to show a smile. And you know, you go through a lot, and I go through a lot too. I just got diagnosed with PCOS, and I struggle every morning.
Yeah.
You know, not to say like I have like super like good days, you know, but I have really bad days too. And that's one of the things where it's like I can't just show up and be like,
yeah,
you know, I can't, you know. And it's one of the things, it's hard. And with some of my clients, you know, like we'll talk about it. A lot of my clients have PCOS too, and I feel like that's where I can kind of like, you know, talk to them about it
a little bit,
but also like we also can't make it about ourselves, because we want to be there for them to be able to vent to us 1,000%. And be able to tell us that, right? So it is hard. I feel like it's extremely hard to like balance that. I feel like that's my biggest balance, because I can't just go and just be like, well, girl, today I'm gonna tell you what went on like in my day job.
Right.
Like I can't do that either, you know?
Some clients that you exchange words,
for
and
sure,
then, you know,
for sure.
But that is another area where we have to show up.
Yeah,
it's like always putting on a poker face, always, and it's again, like I've always said, it's not us complaining.
Yes,
it's just us being able to say like, hey, for anybody out there that's maybe comparing themselves, because comparison is the thief of joy.
Yep.
Whenever there's somebody out there maybe comparing themselves, you can look at the next person and be like, hey, they're humble enough to say, hey, we got struggles too. However, we still gotta seguir adelante.
And I feel like we are just we're all, you know, dealing with struggles that no one else knows. You know, and there's times like where one of your clients might say something and you're like, damn. Like, and you look like you're just like everything's good, and then, you know, they open up to you and you're just like, wow.
It makes your problems feel so much smaller.
Yes. You know, that's why I always say this. My favorite quote ever is, it could always be worse.
It could always be.
You know, like literally, because I feel like at the end of the day, it's like we're all just facing our demons. We're all, you know, that we were all brought up completely differently. And it's like, it gets to the point where you, like you said, you have to find your way and you have to show up for yourself.
And if I feel like if you're not, sometimes we don't know how to show up for ourselves, right? And that usually takes a burnout or a moment, or in this case, you know, our health or whatever. It always takes sometimes that, you know. And the reason why I say is like, because usually it does. The reason why I'm saying that is because like usually it does. Because if it's by our own free will, we're not going to be working 3 or 4 days. We're going to be like, hey, I'm going to be in there every day that I can, making that money. But at the same time too, we're like, hey, because my business is so much of my identity as well, and just a big part of me because I do represent it, I need to pour into myself. And even when we try to pour into ourselves, like I was telling you earlier, I was like, nobody will understand that even if you have 3 days off and you would like to just tend to your home or anything, it's like, no, this is something that we asked for. This is something that we have to balance. But if we don't balance it, you will burn out just like anybody else.
Yep. And then you won't have anybody to wax your coochie.
For real.
At all.
For real. I'm down to 4 days right now. I know
I feel like girls, like, please give me some grace, because if I burn out, there's just, you know, like at the end of the day, like that's what it kind of gets down to. And one of the biggest things that helps me, and like every time I tell my husband, he's like, damn, you just don't want to come inside. But I get home from my mom's and I sit in the car for like an hour sometimes just decompressing. Yeah. Because I talk for 8-9 hours at my day job. And then I go straight into talking for my next 4 to 5 hours.
Something that people don't know about me, like, because everyone sees me like on the podcast, or they'll see me when I post like funny videos
they're
on
like,
TikTok.
You're extroverted, like you love to talk.
Yeah, I love to talk. I do. But people don't realize that I'm also an introvert a little bit. Like,
well, it's because your battery drains. And at the same time, it's like, you know, you realistically, like in general with anybody, whether you have another job or not, like people have kids, like that's mentally draining as well. Like to you know, like the girls that like are having like full blown business and have kids, like, dude, kudos to you guys.
Sometimes it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Sometimes when I have like family events on the weekends, I feel like people always, you know, that's what I am. That I am funny, I am outgoing, I am vibrant, you know, I do like to crack jokes and stuff like that. But there's times where like when I'm exuding that much energy for how many hours a week, 50, 60 hours a week, trust me when I tell you, I want to shut up for once.
Yeah.
Like, I really do. Like,
I'm like, can you talk, please?
Yeah, like, I want to get to the party and just chill.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it kind of sucks because then when you're like that, it's like, ¿qué tienes? What's wrong? And I'm like, oh, no, like, no, nothing's wrong. I'm just like, normalize giving me a minute. Like, you know?
I started feeling that very early on into waxing, because I've always been the friend. Every time we go out, like, I'm always the one like starting conversation. I'm always the one kind of like, oh, you know, and talking to whoever. You know, I got to the point where like, I'm like, damn, I'm actually tired. Like, I'm actually tired.
Like,
and then
up.
Yeah. And then at the same time it goes like, oh, like, are you okay? Like, and I'm like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? But like, it is hard to balance that. It's really hard to balance that. I feel like one of the biggest things too, it's like for me, like, definitely is just kind of like decompressing. And then in general, I feel like it's I do like a lot of like self-talk. Like, I talk to myself a lot.
Okay.
And I feel like also I use my notes app a lot.
Oh, that's good.
And I just talk to myself. Like,
you know what's crazy? Sometimes I'll catch myself. I'll be waxing someone, and obviously I'm trying to keep conversation, right? But if I'm like tweezing or something that requires like really like my undivided attention, there's times where I won't even notice for like a minute. I'll be quiet, and I'll literally be like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I haven't even realized because I'm talking to myself so much in my head. I don't even realize I've been quiet for a minute. So I'm so sorry."
My clients, you know? When they watch this, they'll know when I'm tweezing or extracting.
Oh, bro,
I shut the fuck up.
I'm quiet.
I don't say a word because I'm just in my zone. Mind you, it's like my favorite thing to do to take out extraction.
No,
so I'm like, I'm in my zone. I'm like, and then, you know, like, then I'll like randomly start talking again. But they know, like, I'll start humming randomly. But, and they've called me out on it too. Like, hey, when you're waxing my booty, you start humming. And I'm like, I don't know why. And now I catch myself doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's cool, dude. And I feel like at the same time, like, my business is like, is such a blessing to me. Like, I truly, truly, truly never thought that my clients would help me out as much as they do.
No, yes. They make you feel like you're not alone.
Oh my God. Like, it's crazy, dude. Like, I've never in my life posted a full body picture of myself in any social media platform, right? Ever. And I just did so like
that's at the convention, right?
Yes,
with,
like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was like, the fuck am I hiding for?
Yeah.
Like, this is me. And I can't be preaching self-love if I don't love myself. Like,
that is something that my business name is literally self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care by Ash. And I don't be doing no self-care.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this episode is so nice for people to see whether this, I mean, granted, I know a lot of girls who are service providers, waxers, whatever, you know, our audience is going to see that and they're going to tune in for those reasons. But anybody that's listening out there that's trying to balance something, you know,
for sure,
it's never an easy balance.
For sure.
And also too, it's like, yeah, it is possible to be an extrovert and be so confident and love what you do, but also be humble enough to say, hey, I have my struggles. I'm still learning.
We all have our days.
And we're all just really just figuring it out.
Yeah.
I think that that's the most important thing that people could take from this episode is like, it's always good to be humble enough to say like, hey, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I do realize that comparison is the thief of joy. Try not to do that. But hey, I understand when we do, it's natural, you know? I feel like this episode really comes down to is like showing yourself grace.
Yeah.
That's really
and being authentic to yourself as well. I feel like that's one of the things that really gets overlooked because a lot of people want to be what's hot and oh, well, this person's doing this, well, this person's doing that. And like you said, it's comparison, right? But at the same time, it's like if you can stay true to yourself and who you are, that's where it kind of gets great, right? Because your people need to see that. And I feel like it really took me like doing that. And it might not be something like drastic for a lot of people that I did that, like post a full body picture, but like for me, it was so much more of that. For me, it was literally like, oh, wow, like I really did that, you know? Like, it tripped me out because I was like, I genuinely loved how I looked in that picture. And I would have never thought that before. And I feel like a lot of my clients, like, whether big, small, whatever, like, everybody has insecurities. Even, like, the girls that you might look at and be like, dude, you're perfect.
Yeah.
But there's,
everybody in general.
In general, like, you know, like, there's insecurities for everybody.
Yeah.
And we always want what we can't have.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that's just something that you can't teach yourself to do either. Like, it comes natural. Like, it's just what it is. But one of the things that I do want to say is, you know, and take this time to say, like, if you have a vision, if you have anything in your heart that you're like, I would probably be really good at this, girl, do it.
Do it.
Sometimes like people tell me like, oh, like you're not scared like when you teach your classes, like they're gonna go and take all your clients. No. Because when you go to Seder Brothers, do you know how many types of breads they are?
Yeah.
Like, and someone's gonna go for Sara Lee.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for Bimbo. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, how many service providers are out here that do the exact same thing? Not one is gonna be the same.
I give you props because while you are so loving and welcoming and just opening to your audience, you also keep a very healthy boundary. Yeah. Like you do. Like and that's something that you have like been able to acknowledge to me, like, hey Ash, like I get it. You know, because it's easy for your mind to play tricks on you where you feel like you're almost alone sometimes. Yeah. And I feel like I've been put in a position where I feel like publicly it looks like it's crazy because I know not to everybody, but to most people, I feel like in the generation that we live in, success is usually measured by what you have, by what you're flaunting. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. By meticulous things, you know? And I feel like I've been able to be in a position where like, hey, I have all these things, but hey, you know what? Even though I like, for example, I have a studio now, I have like, you know, a unit now. I really wish I would have appreciated when I was at home more. Or, hey, you know what? For example, like I know I have a podcast and there's all these followers and that's great. But like, I kind of liked when I would go to the Pollo Loco drive-thru and the girl's not like looking at me 4 times because she probably recognizes me, know, like, for sure. Like, you know, it's like, this isn't the cap of like happiness and success. And even when you achieve this level of whatever you want to call it, you know, I wouldn't like to call it like status or like fame or nothing. No, because it's just something that comes off my heart. But even when you obtain that, like you're not just learning is limitless is what I'm trying to say. For sure. Learning from others. And that goes back to being like humble. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I truly don't look at anybody that has more than me or anything that I'd be like, oh, well, I can't ask her anything because of this. But this, you know what I mean? Thing, though, that depends on the type of person. For sure. You are. For sure. Because someone else can look at someone driving, for example, whatever, you know, bougie car to them, you know? They're like, I see that girl driving a Mercedes AMG, like, oh, screw her. Like, oh, I'm so like, people will really envy your success with malicious intent. And it's so crazy to me because in my head, if you obtain any sort of level of success, my first thought is not going to be, oh, it was easy for her. My first thought is going to be, that costed her. That costed so-and-so to get I feel like at the same time, too, it goes to the certain part. Like, for me, I feel like, in general, like, you know, when girls are like, oh, yeah, like, I want the Louis bag. And this, and this, and this. If you really realize, like, people that are actually rich in life, they're not showing off name brand stuff. No. Right? Exactly. The people that are trying to prove something to somebody else, those are the people that are, you know, that have the flashy stuff. And no hate to anybody that does. But at the same time, you know, it comes to the fact that I'm like, I'd rather have my little Amazon bag that I have right now, right? It was like $30. Yeah. But I'd rather have bands in there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that to me is like, I want to create stability for my future. Yeah. What's $1,000, $2,000 bag going to get me? Yeah. But I see, it goes back to like us having this conversation and us understanding each other and it being so natural and it being to where we can relate and also learn off of each other, right? This conversation that's so natural and also too transparent. Yeah. It's something that's so foreign to other people. This is our world. Yes. So it's natural and it's normal to us. But I feel like because where we come from. Exactly. I feel like that's, you know, when I always say like, because I'm foreign, but, but, you know, realistically, like when you come from nothing, when you come from a place that like doesn't know what this is and your parents come with nothing on their back. Mm-hmm. Like my mom couldn't be there when her mom passed away. Yeah. She couldn't be there for her. And then for the next person, I sit with that every day. The next person to be able to see the things that you've accomplished due to those struggles when people sometimes are, I guess you could say closed-minded to be able to say like, oh, that was luck or she's so lucky or it's like, no, like, and I think that that's just what sets us aside from like the average person is that we're able to see maybe the success that somebody else has obtained and we appreciate it more because especially because like you said, where we come from, you know? So I hope anybody that's listening to this episode can understand. And you know what's crazy is like, even when I go and like people ask me like, and I think I told you this at my last appointment, when people ask me like, oh, so you get waxed too? Who do you go with? Mm-hmm. It's always to me, like, not to put too much emphasis on it, but it's always to me like, almost like an awkward conversation because I'm never the type to be like, oh, someone that learned from me. No. I always say like, hey, start off my client. She ended up taking my class, but she's done her own thing with waxing. And that's just because, again, back to how we were raised, it makes you appreciate. So when I look at the hustle and the drive and the motivation of the next person, I'm not like, how most people would think like, oh, because
how she get there.
How she get there, or like, or in some like malicious, weird way, want to be like, oh yeah, because she took my class though. Like that to me is weird. For sure. Like, and a lot of people's first thought is to like jump to that, and it's like, no, like, they had their own struggles and they had their own motivation and their own reasons for success, and they put their own twist on things, and they had to do their own footwork, and it's like, I think just people need to be able to, when they do compare, because it's bound to happen, instead of looking at something with luck or thinking that they have it all figured out, just realize like, hey, no, like, we're all in this together. Like,
everyone has their own story and their own motivation to doing everything that they do. And at the end of the day, I feel like it really just comes back to like, it's either you're gonna do it or you're not. And that's one thing that I have literally on the syllabus of the classes that I teach is the biggest risk is not taking any. Because it's like, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it and you're gonna fail, but that's gonna teach you so much. I've gotten to the point in my faith to where now I'm like, whenever something bad happens to me, I'm like, what was that trying to teach me? Instead of saying, damn, everything bad happens to me. Why is this happening? Because then it's just negativity.
Also, too, though, because you don't exude any negativity.
For sure.
That's the thing, though. Like, when you have malicious intent, y algo te pasa, something happens to you, most people would still think, well, why is this happening, right? But when you don't do anything with malicious intent, when something is, brought to you for you to learn from, you're like, well, what was it trying to teach me? Because of that, that's something that I want to make very clear. Like, when people do malicious things and something happens to them as, karma or repercussion or, what goes around comes around, whatever you want to, believe it is, it's like some people
you're like, damn, what did I do for that to happen?
Yes. Yeah, no. And it's like, hey, when you just carry yourself like that, it gives you more peace of mind because you're like, hey, you know what? Well, this is trying to teach me something. And that's how it makes you learn more in life.
And it makes you appreciate. I feel like something that we talked off camera, like all like those like old time sayings start to make sense. And I feel like that's one of those like biggest things that I've learned. And I feel like it does come with age. I'm 31. I feel like it's one of those things that I'm like, wow, you start to see life differently. You truly do start to see life differently, and everything just kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of works out sometimes. Like, you start setting boundaries and you start really seeing like,
because I'm sure Annabella or Ashley at the age of 21 even thought that we would be here now.
It's
we
crazy.
Would just kind of like figure it out.
It's crazy because it's like, I always knew that I was gonna do something.
Same.
Like, I've always had it in me that I'm like, I'm gonna do something. Like, I know it. Like, I know it.
And there's people that want to stay average.
Yeah. There's a lot of times where people tell me like, did you think you were gonna like pop off this fast? And mind you, pop off to me like might not be the same pop off to someone else who has like hella followers. I never look at the followers. To me, and more of so like, I rather have my my followers that I have now but have hella clients than having 50,000 followers and still not having bookings, right? So to me, like, I've never been fazed by that. But one of the biggest things, it's like when they tell me like, oh, like, did you think that like you were gonna like, because I started getting clients really fast, right? And when they ask me that, I'm like, it like, you can't even really sound like humble when you say it sometimes, because I'm just like, yeah, because I know who I am and I know that I would make people feel comfortable. Like, I knew that was going to happen. However, yes, I didn't think it was going to be that fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I did know that this was going to work out for me.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest things that it's like, I've always known that I was different. From a very, very early age, I had to figure it out. And I had to be, more grown up than a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I feel like, there's struggles that everybody goes through, but there's things that like really change you as a person and make you grow. And I wouldn't take that back for anything, honestly, because it got me to where I'm at today. I genuinely feel like everything that has happened to me has led me to where I am.
And let me tell you something, like, you are a genuinely good person.
Thanks. Like, I'm gonna cry.
there's so many people in the industry, like, there's so many people in the industry that are so motivated by money, and I really cannot I cannot like relate to because of that right there. And then it just kind of sucked coming into it, because I feel like I've always said this on this podcast. I feel like a lot of my success was idolized as something so great. And like you said, everybody's success is different than others, right?
Sure.
For somebody, it might be buying that, expensive bag. For me, I love the fact that I was able to take my dad to sushi and like take him, shopping
and not have to worry about it.
And not have to worry about it, know? And I feel like in an industry that we're in, or just in life in general, I'm not even going to say industry that we're in, because this happens in life in general, that everybody's in this race of comparison and wanting to achieve these things that, socially probably look like it's the cap for happiness, and it's not.
I feel like one of the biggest things, like you said, success is different for everybody. For me, success is literally, me and my husband, we used to say it all the time, oh, next time we get paid. Oh, next time we'll get paid. Or we'll need something. Oh, next time we get paid. And not having to say that, like, it definitely, like, it shifts your perception into so much, because you're like, damn, we don't have to wait till we get paid. Like, damn, like, our, like, fan broke. We don't have to wait till we get paid.
I remember, like, feeling like I had to put up with certain things when I wasn't financially independent. And it wasn't because I was shy of hard work. It wasn't because like I just didn't want to do the work. It was just because my opportunities growing up weren't the same. And that's totally fine, because that's what led me to want to hustle.
That's what built you.
That's what built me.
Exactly.
And I again, this is two people on like our audience right now, right? Because it's both of us on here, right? There's going to be someone out there that's like, hey, you know what? I see where Ashley's coming from in the aspect of like, she didn't know how to put up those boundaries, because I've always said it was just hustle. And then
when you're in a fight or flight mode, you kind of have
to, right? And then there's going to be someone out there that's like, hey, you know what? I see why Annabella talks about those not necessarily like boundaries, but like balance, balance to be able to perform the way you need to in each aspect of your life. Because if not, you're gonna run dry.
And I feel like that's why this podcast is gonna be so great too, just for that same reason. Also, like, you have your own house, you have your own salon, you have obviously like way more that you have to attend to. You know what I mean? And somebody looking like from the outside looking in be like, well, yeah, but she's getting paid hella money, right? But they don't see everything else that goes on, right? They don't see like how much your mortgage is. I don't even got
healthcare right now.
Literally, and that's something that no one talks about. Like when we get sick as waxers, we don't have healthcare. We don't have PTO.
And I felt like I tried to say this, and I talk about it a lot. I talk about my business a lot. I talk about.
They're like, but why are you complaining? You have what we want. Yes. And that's where it gets great. And that's where it gets great. And unfortunately, not everybody's gonna understand it, and that's okay. And I feel like that's one of the things. It's like, when we stay true to ourselves and say, well, you know what? Like we said multiple times on this podcast today, this is my success. And while this might not be what you end up doing in 5-10 years, or if this is even something that you're going to pursue, or if you want to go bigger, or if you want to go smaller and downsize, that's completely okay. The thing is, everybody likes to be like, well, damn, she had this, but now she's in a little suite. What happened? You know?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, not everything is for everybody.
You know what's crazy is literally before coming here today, I was at the dinner table and my mind was racing. Like, I have a class coming up this weekend. I got to go record tonight. I still want to make some good dinner. I this and that. I want to make sure before I go to bed tonight, the house is swept and mopped so that I can have a smooth running week and da-da-da-da. And I caught myself, right? I caught myself starting to get like anxious. I was starting to get like anxiety, right? And my partner was like, why are you getting anxious? He's like, it's a Tuesday. We're drinking a Happy Dad. You're at the dinner table. And you're about to go like do what you always wanted. Like, what is the problem here? And I was like, honestly, I do it to myself. Like, I do it to my, I was like, I do it to myself. And he's like, all right, so go get a job where you can clock in and out, call it a day, and stop doing the podcast. But like, he did it because I was gonna be like, hold up, chill.
There's a price you pay for everything.
There's a price you pay for everything, and I think that's like the main topic of this conversation is that there's a price for everything. Is you have to be led not by sight but by faith, and also too, it's like hustle can be taught. No matter with what you're doing, whether even if you're not a business owner. I know, granted, a lot of girls who are in the industry are gonna tune in, given our platforms and stuff like that, but wherever you're at in life, whether it's trying to juggle motherhood, your 9 to 5 or whatever, it's like there's a price to pay for everything you want in life. However, it's not going to be given to you and it's not going to be easy, but it's okay. Even if things are hard, it's okay for things to be hard because nothing good just comes easy.
At the same time, we can always be like, the circumstances are always different. Like
everybody's
circumstances.
Yeah.
You know, I have had clients that have taken my class. They're like, you know, like, I'm going to use my tax money to do it. Cool, dude. Like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Because this is only going to come right back to you.
Yep.
If you do the work.
If you do the work,
you know? Because at the end of the day, like, nothing's going to just be handed to you. And building clientele is hard, you know? And at the same time, though, I feel like this is one thing that I come across a lot is, you know, when you treat your clients good, like, they do the marketing for you. 90% of my clientele is all word of mouth. And it's one of the things that's like, you know, treat them well. You know what I mean? It's like, have really good service and customer service. That's, you got to have both.
I have thousands of followers, and I can honestly, there came a point in time where, which wasn't necessarily a good thing for me to have gotten comfortable without like constantly posting and stuff like that. But it did allow me to get comfortable because I was like, a majority of my clients that come to me are by word of mouth. And I feel like those are the clients that you end up obtaining a lot of the time.
For sure.
You end up retaining those clients, like, is usually by word of mouth, you know? But it's all just been a building block, and everything's just been a lesson overall.
At the same time, I feel like it always goes back to the same thing. If you're a good person, good things will come.
The other day we walked into this store right here off of Euclid, right? And we walk into the store and it's a pistachio house, right? And you're thinking like, who sells pistachios and like dried fruit? They made a whole store for it, right? And so my dad, and that was my thought, because I was taking out the trash one day and I seen that they handed me a flyer. They're like, hey, we have a pistachio house right across the street. And I wasn't like knocking their hustle, but in my head, I'm like, that's like a, you know, that's not something you hear about often, like a pistachio house, right? So I take my dad, because he loves pistachios, and I take him in there, and my dad's like, hey, he's like, this guy has multiple stores. He starts talking to the employee there, right? And he's like, esto es un buen jale, man. Esto hace feria. And I'm like, what? Like, you know, but it's just so different, because it's like, if you have that vision to want to obtain something, like, you'll definitely be able to get it, you know?
I feel like it's one of the things too. Every time me and my husband, we go somewhere, and we're like, damn, like, there's specifically this one spot that we always go to. I'm like, their food is bomb. Their drinks are bomb. But their marketing, nowhere. There's never anybody in there, you know? And I'm like, damn, dude, y'all have this big ass space. There's like, literally, their customer service, 10 out of 10. But they don't go out of their way to even like post nothing, right? Yeah. So it comes back to the same thing with waxing. Like, you can't just expect people are just going to roll up in here and just be like, hey, I want to get a wax. Because, again, being a Brazilian waxer, you have to build those, like, you kind of have to make people feel, you know, like accepted and everything. Like,
off the rip, even before they even go into the room.
Exactly. So it's like, I'm very big on that. Like, you know, like, getting in front of the camera, showing your face on social media, whether it's not all the time, but just doing it, you know? One of the biggest things I say, like, for anybody watching this that like wants to get into waxing or anything, I'm like, how do you think somebody that's like looking for a waxer in your area feels? They've never seen your face, right? They book an appointment, you open the door, and it's your high school enemy, bro. That's about to wax your coochie. Nah, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta show up and be like, hey, this is me. Whether, or even just one post that's pinned on your you know, on your profile, be like, this is me, this is my name. Because can you imagine? I'd be like, oh, peace out.
No, because at one point I had a bunch of followers, you know, and it started to get slow for me literally just last year at the end of the year, right? And I granted, I feel like, although my business has been like a huge test of faith too, I feel like it just, I don't know, it's like when I was booked and busy and I had the money all the time, right? Because at one point social media blew me up to that extent. No lo cuidaba a veces. Yeah. Because I just knew it was always going to come, right? And at one point I realized when it slowed down for me, I was like, God, was this me being greedy? I was like, God, I was like, is this me being greedy? You know? And I was like, I'm sorry. And after that, I was like, you know what? This can either go two routes. Either I can have the mentality of like, well, people know I wax. Why don't they come to me? Yeah. Or I'm like, hey, are you really utilizing all the resources that you have right now?
Because there's a lot.
There's people out there that have less opportunities or less of a you know, I don't like to say that, but like less of like exposure on their platform.
For sure. Less of a following.
And
let's call it what it is. Yeah, for sure.
But they utilize it so much better.
For sure.
And that's where I was like, hey, like, no, this isn't God. God didn't bring you this far to just like leave you here, you know? However, you have to realign some things. And whether, you know, maybe it's a lot for you having to post those 2 videos a day and X, Y, and Z. I was like, hey, you know what? Anything que es bueno te va a costar.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? And that's where I had to, you know, constantly recenter myself and just, I hope that this is motivating to anybody out there. And
I definitely feel like it will be, because I even, like you said, even if it just, you know, touches one person, like I'm cool with that. You know, it's one of the hardest things to do is have your business, because you do have to put up those boundaries, whether it be with friends, you know, with anybody in general. I feel like it is hard. It is hard to balance that. But at the same time, I do feel like, you know, you showing up every single day to the best of your ability, you can't really lose.
And you know what? You know how they say like, oh, like practice makes perfect? I think consistency
for sure
is what ends up outweighing hustle. Because this is the thing, like you can hustle every single day, but if you end up not being consistent with it, where you hustle every day for like 2 weeks, then I honestly can say I feel like consistency will outbeat hustle any day. Yeah. Because like I said, you can hustle for like 6 days every single day. But if that's every 3 months that you do that, it's like...
Also, too, like that saying, you know, a jack of all trades is a master of none.
Master of none.
You know, so it's one of those things, too, like, you know, where I understand, like, you know, when people are like freshly getting in, they want to be able to do everything. They want to do
I want to be a one-stop shop.
The brows, the everything, right? But at the same time, it's like you said, consistency. You know, like I started doing off like 45-minute Brazilians, right? An hour Brazilian sometimes. But at the same time, it's like that's all I was doing was just Brazilian. So I was like, no, like I have to do better. Yeah. You know, I do have to buy different product. I do have to do this. I do have to find my niche, you know, and when I started seeing that, I was like, okay, while still making sure that, you know, the results are always A1, right? Because that's not something that I'm willing to compromise on. Like that's definitely, I'm not going to be like, well, I just want to be faster to be faster. No, because what a lot of my clients, every time I have a new client, I tell them, oh, how'd you find out about me? Oh, your before and afters. Oh, your before and afters. Yeah. Or, oh, my girlie put me on. You know what I mean? My tia, my mom, my this, you know, cool. But a lot of them, before and afters, right? Which is something that unfortunately we can't post a lot of because we get flagged. I'm shadow banned. I've been shadow banned for like a whole year.
Tell me about the other day I saw one of your posts. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I was like, she posted it October 4th.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah.
I've been shadow banned forever. But at the same time, you know, we don't get that, like the lash girlies and the, hey girl, thanks for my lashes. Thanks for my... They're not going to post in that photo. Girl. They don't post that cooch. But at the same time, I'm so grateful too because my clients, they post the fuck out of my room. Yeah. And that is one of the things that like anytime like they post my studio or anything like that. And that's why I like wanted to make it so cozy in there and everything. Because like on each wall there's something they could take a picture of, you know, and like it helps both of us. Like it's dope, you know. It's cool that like they want to be able to show love, they just can't post a cooch, you know what I mean? So it's like it's cool that they even do that. Like I'm so appreciative of them for that because that, you know, that does bring clientele. Yeah, and it's something like, you know, it can be as easy as just thanks for my wax. No one got to know it's your coochie, girl. Yeah, like, you know?
So, hey, but you know what though? That's so true. Take a pic, like set up your room to where in every corner they can take a picture or something.
But this is the thing too, Ash. One of the things that I've noticed is a lot of clients, especially when they're first time clients, they're embarrassed to even want to take a picture because it's like they're meeting you for the first time. They're going to be like, hey, a lot of them are like that. Yeah. Right. So that's where my goodie bags come in too. Because my goodie bag has my logo on it. Right. So when they get in their car, they're by themselves. They can easily take a picture of that because they're like, okay, she's not going to judge me for taking a picture of her room, even though I would love it. Right. So it's always something too. And it helps both of us as well, not only because of the picture, but I'm also giving you free aftercare in there. You know, you have your exfoliating glove, you have all your stuff in there that you need, your loyalty card, everything. Right. So it helps both of us. If you're exfoliating, that makes my job so much easier. Your skin looks better. And at the same time, you're also promoting and supporting a small business too. You know, so it's like there's little things that like you kind of have to, not you, but like in general, like people, you have to step out of like the box and saying like, if I go somewhere, how would I like to be treated? I would love to get a little goodie bag, a little, you know, self-care this or something to post. That's why I made stickers of my brand. Like every little thing counts.
And it's so true. That goes back to, in order for you to have the time and energy to do that kind of stuff, you need to start with yourself.
For sure.
Right? And because that, like, I'll be the first to say, like, girl, when I was waxing 7 days a week, fuck a goodie bag.
Yep.
Like, I'm not gonna make a goodie bag, dog. I'm here every day. That is your goodie bag.
But I
know?
also I definitely have to like shout out Mama XO because she helps me.
Oh, I love
that
her.
lady's my heart. That lady's my heart.
No,
and she helps me so much.
but
There's
see-
days where like I'll literally be getting off my day job. She's like, you need me to set up the room for you? She already knows how many sticks, bro. She be
love
wearing
her.
gloves. Like, she's just,
her.
you know, like it's that help that helps.
Yeah,
literally.
yeah. And that just goes to show where people can learn, right? Because
sure.
look, from the outside looking in, right? Someone's probably like, damn, how she got time to make goodie bags, to do this, to do that, and not realizing was like, hey, hold on. If you don't pour that time into yourself, you're not going to have the energy to do that stuff. Hey, if you don't have a good support system, that's going to make it a little bit harder. You can still do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it might
There's
be
also
things,
times too, like, you know, like where I get off of work and like my schedule's kind of weird because I'm salary, right? So like it depends what time I get off.
Yeah.
You know, and like especially going into peak, like I get off a little bit later sometimes. So there's times where I'm like, okay, well, my first appointment's at 6. I'm like, I just got off at 4:30. I'm not going to go home.
Yeah.
Why am I going to go home? Lay down for like 10, 15 minutes and then go to the studio and make sure everything's like cool. Yeah. Right. So I'm like, I'm gonna just go straight. And in that time frame that I have like downtime, I'll do the goodie bags.
Yeah.
You know, I'll print out my labels. I'll do this. So like I kind of, you know, I do think that I manage my time very wisely.
Yeah.
And I plan everything out in my head. Yeah. So
and that's so, honestly, that's so good. I love that from you, friend. Even the whole snack thing, when I get your snack card, I was like, yeah, that's honestly something that we would appreciate. Like, it is true, you know?
There's a lot of clients too, like, you know, like I can't sit here and be like, I want every single one of my clients to come showered. No, bro.
Yeah.
Especially with the availability that I have, like our times are never going to align. That's why I always have wipes there for you, you know?
Yeah. Accommodations that make the service go,
make everything, you know, the tampons, the panty liners.
But if you were sitting there running yourself dry, though, you're not going to want it. Yeah.
And the thing is, too, it's like, you know, like, and these are the costs that people don't talk about, right? Because, yes, it costs money to buy all this. It costs money to do the goodie bags. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not only the goodie bags, the stuff inside, it's the bag, it's the labels that we paid for. It's so much. Like, it's so much that goes into it. And someone be like, oh, yeah, it's a cute little goodie bag.
Which
cool.
I think a lot of things in general are how people just sometimes see things surface level.
Yeah.
And maybe people think these things.
Yeah.
Maybe there are some people that think these things, but there's nobody there to be like, yeah, girl, like, I get tired too. Yeah, I have to be able to pour into myself in order to do all these other things. I don't just do it.
Let's talk about the plantar fasciitis, girl. That thing hurts.
Yep.
It hurts. And it's one of the things where it's like, you genuinely can't get up. You genuinely can't walk.
Yeah. Something that like, and
it's debilitating. Especially knowing that you have to be standing for so many hours. Like, and that's one of the things where we don't take care of our health.
I've had plantar fasciitis. That's how you say it, right? I've had it longer than I know how the fuck to say that. Like, literally, dude, I've had it so long.
My massage girl, shout out to her. She's the one that told us that we had it. Yeah. Me and my husband, I was like, oh, so that's not normal.
No, because I would neglect it for so long. And I think that, you know, like even down to like doing the podcast, and it's something, I'm going to be honest with you, like a lot of people, you know, we talk to clients all day. So people tell us like, oh, I have pain in my back, I have pain in my leg, whatever, right? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I've always been blessed. I'm like, can't relate. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's been such an underrated blessing that I've had, because now that I have it, it's taken a huge toll on the way that I work and the way that I show up in other places. Because that's the thing, is like, I'm on my day off, I'm probably not going to want to go to, you know, so-and-so's house or whatever. I'm probably going to want to sit up and like, you know, elevate my feet for a little bit type thing, you know?
We're the new senoras, Ash. Like, it's creeping.
It's crazy because
it's creeping, man.
I had been knowing that I needed to sit down, but I didn't get to sit down until God was like,
your body will force you.
Yeah, like, I'm going to make you sit down. And now that I have all this extra time, I'm like, well, shit, maybe I will put together a goodie bag or something, you know, like, because I'm able to do that. And it feels good, you know? So,
and the thing is, too, is like one of the biggest things, it's like, even though that, you know, it costs a lot of money to do a lot of like the extra stuff, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of like the drinks, like you're doing drinks, you're doing snacks, you're doing all of this. It's like, that's one of the things that I won't budge on, because I know that it makes the experience so much more.
Yeah, I love being able to tell people, don't get me wrong, I'd be looking at them Costco trips like, damn, I'm coming here more for y'all than for me, you know? But I like being able to say, would you like a water? Would you like a snack? Would you like, you know, something else?
Because I love when I go get my toes and when they offer me a water, I'm like, period. It's like half the time we're running around and I'm like, damn, I got to go to my appointment. I haven't drank water in like 3 days.
I think that's also what makes us like successful, to be honest, because like you said, a lot of people in the industry are just here for money. And it's crazy because a lot of people can be more cutthroat. And in the moment, like it's crazy because, you know, we'll say for the girls that are more of like on the smaller business side, right? Like they're like the small timers, right? And then the people that have like all this following and the blue check and all this, right?
Yeah.
People will sit there and be like, oh, well, like, she has like what I want, but it's like, hold on though. Not always what you see is what it's made out to be, because yeah, maybe they can have that status, but the quality is a lot less because their reasoning for being in that business is driven by just money.
Yeah.
It's not coming from a good place, or like, you know, making the goodie bag is not like, it's coming from a place of the heart. Like, hey, I want you to be able to enjoy
I'm
that,
a gift giver,
you know?
bro. So like for me, it comes naturally. Like I love gift giving. You know what I mean? So it's like for me, it's just like, I want you to have something of mine to like think of me.
And that's the thing, you know, as going back to like as a service provider, if you don't do that for yourself first, like you don't have time to do it for other people.
Sure.
And the last thing I would ever want is to be able to look at my business and be like, oh, I look ungrateful, or I didn't appreciate it, or I, you know, or to ever feel like, oh, I don't appreciate someone's money that's brought to me. It's like, dude, that's their hard-earned money at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
And granted, while I am here to be like love, light, and welcoming, it also is okay sometimes too to have like a boundary también, being a business owner.
For sure.
Because we don't have PTO.
It's healthy in general. I feel like boundaries are really what's going to determine who's really right for you and who's not. Not all money's good money. And at the end of the day, it's one of these things. It's like, it goes, I feel like, far beyond just respecting boundaries. I feel like it's just respecting me.
People.
You know, it's truly just what it is, because you can only post your policies everywhere you possibly have them. You know, like you can do it on your booking app, you can do it on your highlights, you can do it on your stories, but there are people that are just not going to read them. They're not going to watch them. And while that's okay, you know, while they continue to not follow them, that's when you're kind of like, hey girl, you know, and those conversations are never good. I hate the hey girls. You know, I don't want to have to reach out and be like, hey, you know, this, and this. However, you know, like I do have a business to run. And while a lot of people might be like, oh, she'll be fine, she has her day job. You know, that's where it gets great too, because I'm like, well, no, like this is also my baby that I'm pouring my blood, sweat, and tears on. Like I would love to be able to go home sometimes and just relax the whole week, but then again, that might seem ungrateful, right? Because it's what I've been wanting.
Yeah,
you know,
some people end up looking at you sideways once you do establish those policies and those boundaries, and it's like, hey, like I am welcoming because of the service that I'm giving you. You know, I'm an intimate waxer, but at the end of the day, too, like I do have to enforce my policies, you know. And
mind you, there are, you know, clients that you do bend the rules for.
Yeah, I know,
because at the same time, like someone gets to I've had it happen before. Like someone got into an accident. I'm like, well, I'm gonna charge you this. I'm like, girl, you're already going through enough. You know, like I feel you. You know what I mean? But you know, it does get to the point where like some people will just test to see how far they can get.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of where it sucks, because it messes it up for everybody. Where it's like, well, damn, well, she let her off the hook. Why won't she let me off the hook? Kind of thing, you know?
Because it's the third time your tire popped in the last 3 months since you've been getting waxed by me. That's why.
So, you know, it comes to that point. Yeah. You know, it comes to that point too where, you know, you have to, like, it's okay to be lenient for sure. Like, it is.
Give grace where it's received.
For sure. But at the same time, like, and I'm sorry text goes a long way. You know, or just like, girl, I am so sorry. Like, I just can't make it. Cool, girl. I'm totally fine with that. You know what I mean? As long as you're good with the policy, we're totally fine. There's no, I won't look at you different. I won't, nothing. Like, life happens. A lot of my clients are mothers. Like, I get it. Sometimes you can't find a babysitter. Sometimes you don't have a ride. That's completely
That just goes back to the kind of respect that you have for me in general.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree. Friend, it's been so good to have you on this podcast.
I'm so happy that I got to be on here.
You don't know how good it feels to be able to a certain extent, like, just be like, I don't want to say desahogarme, but to be able to be understood. Because especially being in a position where you obtain a business and you have these things that are blessings, you just want to be able to acknowledge to people like, hey, these do come with responsibilities. Yeah. It's never easy. But hey, if I could do it, you could do it. And don't be too hard on yourself. Yeah. It's easier said than done. But I thank you so much for coming on this podcast. For having me. Once again, friend, drop your ad. She's in San Bernardino, guys. Go ahead, support small businesses. Go ahead.
So XO Beauty Wax. I have after hours time available, so I'm pretty much waxing till like 9:30.
She waxes me, so yeah, bro. She's amazing.
So
if you guys either want to go with her, I'm also located in downtown Ontario. My name's Self Care by Ash LLC, and well, like I said, whether you're a business owner or whether you're someone just trying to manage balance in life in general, just know it starts with yourself.
Yes,
nothing is ever what it seems to be. Live by faith, not by sight. And if you're rooted from a good place, anything that you want to do in this lifetime is going to come out good.
Yes.
Just stay true to yourself. Take care of yourself. Guys, I will see you guys on the next episode. I love you guys, and be patient with me. I will be recording some more, but just know that this episode was all love.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much.
So happy
I'll
to
see
be
you guys
here.
next time. Bye.
Bye.